Hello, Delegate Wranglers. Welcome to another DW live show. This is episode number 6 of series 4. We got 2 left in this series. And guess what, guys? You're in for a treat today. It's just me because Dom is off skiving. I think he's gone on another restaurant tour of the Southeast, as he likes to do. But you can always rely on me, the hardcore, to be here every single week. So no, Dom is unavailable at very short notice. So apologies for that. You've just got me. So never mind. Anyway, as usual, we are live on Facebook, we are live on LinkedIn, and also on YouTube. Apologies about the slight delay. We think Dom was sabotaging us. You'll see all our normal handles there. Basically, if you search on the Delegate Wranglers on anything, for anybody who's not a member already, you will find us. So yes, thank you all for joining us today for this fantastic show. It's one I'm really looking forward to as well. When I'm going to be talking to Chris Worden from First Business Rescue. He says, looking at his notes rapidly, and it's going to be all about the thorny subject of, what happens if your company's struggling, or, maybe post-COVID, it's struggling, as a lot of businesses were in our industry. Chris is going to talk, he's a fantastic person. He's going to talk you through loads and loads of options, loads of positive things that you can do, action you can take, things you can do to safeguard, how to talk to HMRC. So many things, guys. I've been chatting through this with Chris beforehand. And you know what? It may not even be applicable to you now, but you never know when you might need this information. So, or I can guarantee that you probably know someone who does need this information. So please feel free to pass on the YouTube link to the show afterwards. But first, before we go any further, I just wanted to say briefly, just a massive thank you to everybody who came out to the meeting show last week. It was an amazing show. I mean, it was, I think it's took the momentum from the shows that have gone before it, and really, really carried that forward. I'd say it was probably at least 75% of what it normally is. So thanks to all our stand partners. Thanks to everyone who came, had all the cocktails on our stand, including me. And also thanks for coming out to see me when I had George from Facebook on with me. Sadly, guys, we couldn't record that, but anyone who caught it, was an amazing session. George is such a brilliant speaker and so knowledgeable about this, easy for me to say, knowledgeable about the subject matter. Apologies for my voice. That's a combination of non-stop talking at the meeting show and also shouting and screaming at the Liverpool v Man City game on Sunday. We were robbed. So anyway, without any further ado, I would like to introduce the fantastic Chris Worden from First Business Rescue. Hello, Chris. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Neil. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us, Chris, and bearing with us with the other couple of little technical issues there at the beginning. So, Chris, I know me and you've been chatting for quite a while, ahead of this show. Do you want to, just for the benefit of everybody else, tell us a bit about yourself, how you got to doing what you're doing, and all about First Business Rescue as well?
Thank you. So I'm the managing director of First Business Rescue, and I'm a Preston fan for my sins. So we will be seeing Liverpool in a couple of weeks, and hopefully you get robbed again. But First Business Rescue. Before I talk about that, I'll tell you how I became involved in the industry of insolvency, because I've had quite a unique journey. I didn't go to university to study insolvency. I'm actually not an insolvency practitioner. I ended up here because about 6 or 7 years ago, I had a good little business. I employed probably 15 people in the local area. We did renewable energy projects and some insulation government schemes. And I'll never forget it. It was just before Christmas. There had been a number of reductions in the tariffs that customers were getting from the government. and the funding for some of the insulation measures were pulled. But on this day, there was a shock announcement by the government, and overnight I lost £300,000 worth of orders. And
Wow.
because I could at that point couldn't guarantee to install said energy efficiency measures by the cut-off, I had to give back £50,000 in deposits. And that wasn't the worst thing that had happened, by the way, because
Depressed and lose as well.
2 weeks later, we realised that we'd been ripped off. We did these what we thought was a government scheme, and there was a middleman, and this middleman liquidated and ran off with all the money. He owed us £200,000.
Wow.
So that was quite a harrowing Christmas, and I didn't get a great deal of sleep for what felt like months. At the back end of the January, I'd been researching insolvency. What do you do online? And when I went from website to website, I got more confused. I went out to visit some insolvency practitioners that I just didn't understand what they were saying. Everything seemed to be in a language that I didn't understand. And I'm not an idiot. I just, all the information seemed very artfully vague. And then
it's not things you think about, is it, as well, when you start your business? It's not, it's things that you don't want to be thinking about, really.
No. I mean, I was a streetwise person, or I thought I was. And I was so vulnerable in this scenario. And what happened is I went to see my friend. My best mate was a professional boxer. I've gone into the gym to see him. And his coach has said to me, he says, "What's wrong with you?" Because I'm an upbeat person. But my problems were written all over my face. I didn't know. I hadn't told my missus, I had my kids I had to provide for. There were, like I say, there were friends of mine that worked for us. And I said, listen, I sort of, he was the first person in my circle that I opened up to. And he says, listen, you can go and meet my friend who does insolvency. So I've gone to meet this guy. And I say this to him now. He was a lazy guy, right? He'd been in the industry 25 years. His phone would ring once a month, twice a month. And if the job didn't have like a tens of thousands of pounds worth of fees in it, he was not interested. He only spoke to me because of the introduction from my friend. But he explained things in an easy to use, understand manner. And I got through it. And on the back of that, we realized that there just wasn't any support for small business owners. And me and there's three partners, the guy in the gym and the guy who got me through it. And me and the guy in the gym convinced the other chap that there was, in fact, a business model here to help directors through this time and help them understand what their options are and help them navigate any pitfalls if they go into an insolvency procedure. And that's where we are today. We help directors of businesses. We're used to dealing with distressed business owners. What's changed since COVID happened, especially from your audience? In all the years we've been working, we've done one company involved in the events industry. Since COVID, we've had lots of inquiries from people because they've just not been able to make the money, have they? It's so that's what we do. We give easy to understand advice, no nonsense, no BS. If you've got a problem, we'll tell you what.
Hello, I think Chris has just Just
You've got me
Frost.
again, I
Just
believe.
Chris. Oh, here we go. He's back. He's back in the room. He's back in the room.
Bloody
Go
internet.
on, Chris. Off you go. Carry on.
Where did you
Carry
lose
on.
me?
No, just only the last 5 seconds. So you're all right.
So we support directors of businesses, UK businesses. We offer free, independent, and
Right, Chris, you're back again. Keep going.
yeah.
Oh, it's just me again. I'm gonna fill until Chris is back, and maybe Chris, if you can see this, you can reload the call. But Chris, I've been talking to Chris for a little while, guys, and he's super knowledgeable about this and super got a really positive approach to it. And it's not, the advice he's going to give is not everything that you have to contact him to do. He's got so many bits that you can do yourself as well. So Chris, are you with us again? No, he's going to try and come back in. Here we go. Hello, Chris, you're back.
Yeah, I've connected to a different Wi-Fi source.
Try that one. Try that one. God, it's all going off now. My bloody phone's going. So yeah, hello, Chris.
We help directors with problems.
Yeah. Okay, so Chris, so tell me a bit about. I know what are the kind of problems that you've been having with, the event industry, companies. Is it being event organizers, event management companies, and agencies, or is it being more your hotels and venues, or is it kind of a bit of both?
It's absolutely, it's all parts of the industry. Do you know, we have never ever supported a wedding venue, and I remember this one inquiry. There was a woman who did Jewish and Asian weddings, so there would be 1,000 people at the wedding.
Yeah,
and she just a business model. She'd been going 20 years, and a business model has just fell over because she just couldn't get people through the doors. We've supported catering companies that supply catering to the events industries. We spoke to loads of people, if you will, one man and one woman bands who just can't work. So it's across the board, from really small companies to some quite large multi-million pound turnover businesses that have just had their knees taken away because of these lockdowns.
And I suppose the bigger you are, the more you've got to lose as well. You know what I mean. It's harder to keep that place running if it's a big might be earning a big multi millions when everything's working, but when it all went for us last year, it was so difficult for all those companies. Even if you could furlough staff, you still had the running costs of the place and stuff. So, Chris, should we get into some of the? I know you were talking before with me about some of the aspects and the things that you're going to cover. Do you want to crack on with the first part of your masterclass? Because I'm really looking forward to it.
Listen, I do, but I do just want to touch on an interesting point you've just made there. Whether your debts are millions or tens of thousands, it's all relative. And to the director, it's just as stressful owing the HMRC 6,000 quid if you're a small business than a bigger company that might owe £600,000. It doesn't make it any less stressful. So what I want to do, first of all, I want to jump into some information because I assume a lot of people here have some HMRC arrears that are watching now or maybe watching in the future. Whether it's deferred VAT, corporation tax from last year, corporation tax that's due this year, some pay as you earn. And I want to talk to you about basically arranging something called a time to pay arrangement. Right. I get calls every week of directors who are really panicky about the revenue. And the message I want to give people is, as long as you speak to HMRC and don't bury your head in the sand, they're very flexible and understanding. Okay.
Yeah.
If you've got HMRC arrears in October 2021 and you've just ignored the letters, enforcement action is restarting. Nobody wants a bailiff on their door. Nobody wants an enforcement agent at their home address. So the key thing is to communicate with them. Now, a time to pay arrangement is where you agree to repay your HMRC arrears over a period of time. Now, before COVID, it was 12 months. That was the longest you could extend to pay these HMRC debts. But today, in October 2021, if you speak to the revenue, you'll get 2 years. As long as you can afford to pay it back. If you are willing to give them your inside leg measurements, and there's a long list, you may be able to extend it over 3 years. But literally, you can do it over 2 years over the phone. Now, you've got to remember you're going to pay interest on these arrears. So just consider that. But in my view, it's very, very cheap interest, and it keeps the wolf from the door. But please speak to them.
What kind of interest levels are they, Chris?
Very, very good question. I don't know the answer. But when I looked at it a couple of weeks, very low. Yeah, really, really tiny.
Like really low.
Really minimal, absolutely minimal. But I couldn't put a figure on it. I'm sorry, you caught me out there.
Sorry.
But if you don't do anything, there could be surcharges, enforcement action. Don't panic about owing the revenue money. You need to speak to them. Now, if there's people out there that have no cash in the till and they have no way to pay the revenue, tell them that. Say, I've got nothing. I'm going to check in 3 months.
Because I guess, Chris, now, it makes sense. It makes sense for them to have some kind of payment structure rather than to employ an enforcement agency to go and get the money back. And nobody wins, and do they really, apart from the enforcement agency, I guess.
Well, here's the reality of it. If you're a limited company and you liquidate and close the company, the HMRC is it's an unsecured debt, and it's highly likely that they get very little or nothing back at all. So, yeah, you're in a stronger position than you think.
Yeah, great.
Now, on the next thing I want to talk about is the pay-as-you-grow option for bounce back loans, because I imagine a lot of people who watch this will have taken back a bounce back loan, and if they're not already been asked to start making repayments, they will be in the not too distant future. So the pay-as-you-grow option was brought in for the government by the government to allow business owners to basically restructure the bounce back loan. So instead of a couple of things you can do, instead of paying it over 6 years, you can pay it over 10 years. That'll bring your monthly payments down by almost half. Okay. Another thing that you can do, if you can't afford to start making any payments right now or when it's due, you can take the option where you get another 6 months without paying anything back to the bank. Okay. Now you are going to pay a little bit more interest. Okay. Over the term, as you will if you extend it over 10 years, but it is minimal. Okay. I think I worked it out over a 50 grand bounce back loan, extending it over 10 years and taking another 6 months to pay. It was something like an extra, I don't think it was a couple of grand over that. So for me, that your bounce back loan was 2.5%. You've not had to personally guarantee it. It's extremely cheap money. Now, with the pay-as-you-grow option, you can also go on interest-only payments 3 times during the term of the loan. Now, if you want more information on pay-as-you-grow, log into your bank that's lent you the bounce back loan and click the pay-as-you-grow options. It's a simple thing that you can do. and it'll give you again that bit of breathing space to to allow your business to get back on track.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people took out the bounce back loans, and obviously that's all dependent on us being really busy now and starting to pay it back. So that's really useful information, that Chris, because there will be a lot of people watching this show who may be in that situation. So really useful. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Listen, sadly, not every business has bounced back, and nobody expected that. What are we 18 months on from being locked down? And for certain people, things aren't back to normal yet. So another thing I want to talk to people about is if they owe people money, creditors, whether it's suppliers, venues, anybody you owe money to, it's important that you communicate with them. Because if you don't communicate with them, and again, just bury your head in the sand thinking it's going to go away, that business that you owe money to or person you owe money to may issue something called a winding up petition against you. Now, winding up petitions were effectively banned during the pandemic. There was something called a moratorium in place. But as of the 1st of October, creditors can actually start to take this action against you again. Now, the debts have to be more than £10,000 now, okay? But the key thing is when you've got people that you owe money to, speak to them. Even if you're ringing them to say, I can't afford to pay you, there's nothing there this month. Speak to them, keep them in the loop, and let them know when you can make a payment, because it's always better to do an informal arrangement as opposed to be forced into doing a formal route of restructuring. Okay. Now, see, I want to talk to people about a company voluntary arrangement. If your business is really struggling with business debts and you don't really see a way out, but you've got a good viable business and you don't want to close your company, one of the things that you can look to do is something called a company voluntary arrangement. It's a CVA. And it's a more formal way of restructuring company debts. This is not for everybody, by the way, okay? But if you have a good business that would be viable without this legacy debt burdening them, you can restructure that debt, put all your unsecured creditors into a pot, HMRC, other suppliers, and you agree to pay it back over 5 years. 60 months.
Chris, I was just going to ask you, so that CVA, who's that done with? Is that done with private firms or is that done with the government? Who do people take that out? Do they come to see people like you and then to set something like that up?
Yeah, you go and see, you'd speak to an insolvency practitioner would have to put together the CVA, and they would circulate it to your creditors, and that could be HMRC, it could be certain bank funding, it could be suppliers. And as long as they approve it, as long as you get over 75% of your creditors approving the CVA, it becomes legally binding. And it's like having a wall of protection around you while you're in that CVA. Now, you've still got to keep up to date with other debts. And it's not a golden bullet because your credit rating is absolutely shot while you're in a CVA. But again, it's a restructuring tool that people may not have heard of.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds really useful, Chris, for people that as well. Sounds like something, that could, I mean, the way I see this show is if just one of the bits of information that you're given can help to save one business and to help it to grow again, it's going to be really useful. And that sounds like a really key one for people.
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, listen, we're a service that nobody wants to use. Nobody wants to pick the phone up. But the earlier you seek advice, the more options that you'll have as a business owner. Well, one of the things I want to talk about now is, listen, you may be drowning in business debt. You may have taken a bounce back loan. You've not bounced back yet. You may owe HMRC arrears. You may have other creditors that are chasing you. And you're so far behind the 8 ball, you can't see a way out. Now, there is a procedure where a director can set up a new company and it agrees to buy the assets of the insolvent company. So those assets might be, we did we're just going through a chap down in the southeast, and he is like an events business. He owns stages, lighting, PA equipment, that type of thing. And he's set up a new company, and he's agreeing to buy the assets of that old company and taking it into a new co. And then he's going to liquidate the old company, because that is the only way really that this business is going to survive. And it's called a pre-pack liquidation. You see lots of bigger businesses doing this all the time, but it's also available for smaller companies. There's things you've got to check. We've got to be sure that your business is going to be viable going forward, because you can't keep doing this, indefinitely. But if the business is viable going forward, you can use that option of a pre-pack liquidation where you, the director, can agree to buy the assets of the insolvent company, and it is perfectly legal. I mean, one of the questions that we get a lot is, can I be a director of another limited company? And the answer to that is yes, as long as you've acted responsibly. Okay, and you've not done anything that you shouldn't have done. You've not whipped out all the money of the insolvent company. It's important when the idea people, when their business becomes insolvent, they have to take advice as responsible directors. There's a really simple test called the Insolvency Test, Neil, and it's the corporate insolvency test. It means, can you pay your debts when they fall due? Yes or no? Are your liabilities more than your assets? Yes or no? And has somebody taken legal action against your company? Now, if you answer yes to those questions, you fail the insolvency test. And it's at that point, as a director, your responsibilities change and you cannot make your creditor's position any worse. So to continue to trade through things with little or no hope of recovery, that can actually get the director into trouble down the line. So the key thing is to get advice early.
So what point during all that, Chris, do you guys get involved, and what kind of thing do you do to help them, with the pre-pack agreement? What point do they come to you, and what things do you do for them?
Well, they come to us the minute that as soon as they're starting to feel financial distress, that's when they should make an inquiry. And what we will do is we will listen intently to everything that's gone on, and then go through what options they have available for them. Where we're quite unique is our initial focus is on the director and actually outlining any potential problems for them personally. So we'll help them check things like, I'm going to come on to this, but have they made any preferential payments? Could they be accused of misfeasance? Do they have a director's loan account that's outstanding? Our job is quite thorough. And then if the right solution for them and the business is to go into an insolvency procedure, that's what we do next, is we hold their hand through that procedure from the start to finish and make sure they understand their position fully up front.
Yeah, I think what you want mostly with, if you're in this situation, is probably for somebody to hold your hand through it. and tell you which way to go. Because I think, judging by what you said, it's quite difficult to have that thorough knowledge of everything, where what to do, when to do it, how soon you need to do it. But I guess the sooner you do it, the better, and just having somebody to help you through it that knows what they're talking about, that's a really important thing, isn't it?
And listen, mate, I've been there. I've been
Yeah.
there as well. I've had the sleepless nights. I've had it where my head's about to hit the pillar, I'm about to snooze off, and bang, my brain turns on. I know what you're going through because I've been through it myself. Now, before COVID, I'd say 95, 96, 97% of our inquiries never went into liquidation. They just get some good advice and get on with their life. I mean, that's changed since what's happened. But obviously, one of the questions I'm going to answer as well is, what's the cost of liquidation? Because people go, well, what does it cost? This can be a real stumbling block for people, because you take insolvency advice when you're skint, or you're worried about the future and cash flow is tight. To go into liquidation, you have to pay an insolvency practitioner. Now, depending on who you use, whereabouts in the country you are, how complex your job is, you're going to be paying sort of £4,000 to £8,000 to go into liquidation. Okay, but if you've been on the payroll as a director, which I know a lot of people in events are, they take a small amount salary and the rest they take top up as dividends. If you've been on the payroll for over 2 years, you are entitled to director redundancy. And you can make a claim from the government for redundancy, which should cover the cost of any liquidator's fees. So, yeah, again, take advice early and find out what your position is and what your options are. I was hoping, if I could, a lot of people have the question about bounce back loans, Neil. Am I all right to talk about that now?
Absolutely, Chris. I'm just going to jump in there, guys. Please feel free to drop any questions in for Chris. I mean, you've got an absolute expert on the subject here, so it could be anything that's relating to you or someone you know. Please drop us a question, or send me a direct message if you'd prefer to be anonymous, and we'll get the question to Chris. Yeah, Chris, crack on, please, about bounce back loans. That's good.
Right, bounce back loans. 1.5 million businesses took bounce back loans. Okay, very, very popular, totaling billions of pounds. And a lot of directors want to know, well, can I close a company? What would happen to a bounce back loan? So the bounce back loan was like the ideal loan for the borrower and the lender, because as the borrower, you did not have to give a personal guarantee. The lender was guaranteed by the British Business Bank, the government. So in the event that you didn't pay back your bounce back loan, they would claim from the government. So no risks on anyone's behalf. If your business becomes insolvent and you close the limited company down, your bounce back loan is treated as another unsecured debt. And what that means is in a liquidation, your loan would be written off. Okay. The bank would then make a claim from the British Business Bank and they would get their money back. Now, I've got to get this out there. There is only one way you can close a business with a bounce back loan that's become insolvent, and that is liquidation. Either you voluntarily liquidate and you choose an insolvency practitioner, or you wait, do nothing, and you will be forced into liquidation at some stage down in the future by the bank. I wouldn't recommend that route, because as a director, you have a responsibility to take action. But what you must not do under any circumstances is attempt to strike that company off via a dissolution. There are advisors out there telling their clients that instead of going through an insolvency process, that they should attempt to try and strike the company off at company's house. It only costs a tenner, and people are seeing it as a cheap route of closing the company. You can't do it. And I'll tell you why you can't do it. the banks are not allowed to get a claim on their guarantee if they allow a company to be struck off. And there are many thousands that have gone through this year and done it. And what will happen is the bank will reinstate the company, and you as a director will be held liable. You know, you will be in the fine.
The banks will come looking for you then. Yeah. Good, so great advice.
No problem. Listen, there's also confusion about what you could spend a bounce back loan on, right? It had to be used for the benefit of the company. That could be HMRC. It could be paying some suppliers. It could be used as salary. You know, if you're a one-man band, you need paying. But really, you were better off using it trying to bounce back and keep going. What you can't use it for, extensions, holidays. I know you're laughing. I know you're laughing, right? But the stories that I hear of people, and it's like, well, everyone's done it. No, everyone hasn't done it. The vast majority of people I've spoke to have used this in the right manner. It's taxpayer money, this, Neil. And I can assure you, if you've misused this bounce back loan, down the road, there are going to be some issues, and you will be held accountable. Now, as long as you've spent it in the right manner, and you sadly have to close the business, the loan will be written off, and the bank will make a claim from the British Business Bank.
Is that if you want to close a business? You mean, Chris? If you're still going, you still have to pay. Yeah.
Listen, if you're still going, you pay it back, or you take the pay as you grow option and restructure that loan over 10 years. But the only way a bounce back loan can be written off is if a company goes into liquidation.
Got you. Great. So I know you were going to talk about, we've got about 15 minutes left. I know you were going to talk to us about directors' loans and things as well, Chris.
Yeah. So this is a time bomb. So you probably heard me just say that you could use your bounce back loan for salary, okay? Which was absolutely right. But what a lot of people do, the most tax efficient way to take your money as a director is to take a small amount salary and you top it up as dividends.
Yeah.
And what most people will do, they'll put the books in once a year, they'll get the corporation tax bill, they'll pay it, and they don't really understand the accounts, they don't think about them. Now, you can only take a dividend from a company that's making a profit, and this is really important in your industry, because most businesses attached to the events industry have not made a profit since COVID. Or they've made a vastly reduced profit. Yeah. So let's just pick this scenario out. You took $4,000 a month. That was what your income from the business was. And £1,000 a month of it was through the payroll, the PAYE scheme. But you topped another $3,000 a month up as what the real term is drawings from the business. When you go to do your year-end accounts, there are going to be people very shocked that they didn't have enough profit in the business to take that $3,000 a month. And that has become what you would call an illegal dividend. And it's converted into a overdrawn director's loan account. If your business is going to continue, you will be taxed. I think it's 32.5% on that 30 grand. And if you have to close your company, that director's loan account is classed as an asset of the business, which means an insolvency practitioner is going to ask you to pay that back. Now, it's a big enough shock for people actually who didn't know that what one was. It's an even bigger shock when they get a letter through the door asking them to pay it back when they think their problems have gone away. So it's a big issue, this. A really big issue.
And I guess a lot of people are set up that way, Chris, as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies set up that way.
If you are concerned about a director's loan being overdrawn, and you think you may need to go into insolvency at some stage in the future, you've got to deal with this head on. You've got to be proactive in your approach. And that's going, right, this is my issue. Is there any ways that I can mitigate it? And if you are sadly going into a liquidation or an insolvency procedure, you've got to be willing to have that uncomfortable conversation up front. Whatever you do, if you hear the words, we'll deal with it down the line, no, we need to deal with it now. Because in certain circumstances, you'll be able to negotiate either a reduced settlement, a civil settlement on your director's loan, or agree time to pay it back. Now, in my experience, you're going to get a better deal done before you appoint somebody. Because once you've appointed somebody, well, I'm not sure. Yeah, get the deal done earlier. Take it again. It all boils down to taking advice early.
So, Chris, does that mean, just so I understand this right, does that mean the people who've operated not at a profit for a number of years, does this director's loan build up and up and up and up, and it's like a huge amount that's sitting in your account, if you like, with the HMRC? Is that what you mean? Apologies if I've misunderstood it.
No problem. Right. So what happens is, whenever you take income from your business that's other than a salary, okay?
Yeah.
It's recorded on your director's loan account, okay? And at the end of the year, you put your books in, and your accountant will declare a dividend.
Yeah.
And that will normally wipe out your director's loan account again, and you'll pay the tax on the profits. You can only take a dividend from a company that's making a profit. Now, what I've noticed with businesses in the events industry, they've made great profits over the years. They've always paid their tax on time. But since COVID, they've not made a profit. But a lot of directors have not changed the way they've paid themselves, which means that there's lots of directors who've ended up with directors' loan accounts that are overdrawn unknowingly. Now, how can you check yours? Well, check your last set of accounts. There will be a section on there that says directors' loans or directors' current accounts. But if your accounts are sort of 12 months, 18 months out of date, that only gives you a bit of a picture. In an ideal world, make sure that your accountant gives you an up-to-date set of accounts and check your director's loan position on there. And your accountant really should be advising you about this, and making you aware of any potential problems.
So Chris, for a quick question then, for limited companies, if they're not making a profit, but they were still set up like that, what's the alternative? How do they just go full PAYE? What's the situation?
Now that's it. You want to speak to your accountant about that. But if you are not going to make the level of profit that you need to take the income that you require, now this has to be reasonable, I would suggest that you increase your pay as you earn. Okay, you're going to pay more tax, but you're sort of protecting yourselves from that director's loan
down
account.
The line.
If
from that down the line thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like, you don't have to do it forever. But if you are uncertain of your company's future, then that's something I would seriously consider.
So I suppose the advice is, guys, if you're in that situation, go and speak to your accountant, talk to them about, have a look at what Chris has just mentioned, talk to them about it and get some advice from them. I guess that's the best thing we can tell people, Chris.
Yeah, and Neil, if they are in this position where they have got a director's loan account, or they suspect that they have, and the business has become insolvent, I'm happy to have 10 minutes with people and say, right, okay, where are you at? Where are you at up to date? And
Okay.
like I touched on it before, you can't sweep things under the carpet, but as long as you know about the issues, you can start to then think about the solutions. Okay, stop living in the problem and start trying to, get your head in the space of how am I going to solve this.
Yeah. So, Chris, I'm aware we've only got a couple of minutes left. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to cover. I had something written down here: credit rating for people who've become insolvent or whatever. Is that something that you guys help with as well?
Well, a liquidation, really good point, by the way. If you close a limited company via a liquidation, it has no bearing on your personal credit score. It won't appear on your credit Experian or Equifax. If you've signed personal guarantees, okay, people like Funding Circle, iWalker, certain bank loans, once you're in liquidation, the institution that lent you the money will serve you notice going, right, I want this money back. But you will be able to, in most cases, restructure those loans over a longer period of time, and it won't affect your credit score.
Right.
I think I just want to finish up is, I'm on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, First Business Rescue, we're on Facebook, First Business Rescue. If you are struggling, get advice, even if it's 10 minutes to go, actually, you don't really have anything to worry about. You do this, this, and this. Don't bury your head in the sand. More often than not, these things can get worse, never better. I do liken it to toothache. Get toothache, go to the dentist quickly. Sadly, I wasn't like that. I'm the guy who'll wait till a Saturday tea time and I'm ending up in the emergency dentist with a butcher pulling the tooth out. Don't be like me. If you think you have a problem, take some action on it.
Chris, that's absolutely brilliant advice. And I think, my take home from all of this is communication, guys. Talk to people, talk to your accountant, talk to Chris, find out what's going on, talk to the people that you owe money to, talk to the bank, talk to the HMRC. This is the biggest thing that's come across, Chris. And of course, there's all those little facts that all those tips and things that you've told us and all that advice is brilliant. And as I say, I wager that this show will be shared and watched by a lot of people who will not know this information and will really be needing it, or know someone who needs it. So if we've helped just one person, I say if you've helped just one person, it's been an amazing show. And as you say, we'll put your company and your LinkedIn profile, Chris, in the chat so that people can follow you up and they can grab a quick 10 minutes with you, can't they, Chris, if they need to?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Have you got any questions?
Have I got any questions for you? Yeah, who's going to win the league this year?
What league are we talking about? Like I say, I don't bother with that Premier League. It's
is that even a question? The only league.
I'm only interested in the Championship, so and I don't think it's deals. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, we're going to win the league. Well done, Chris. I'll take that as a yes for Liverpool. And
I was told to stay away from religion, politics, and football.
Never football on this show.
Yeah.
Never football on this show. Anyway, Chris, thank you so much. Really appreciate that amazing advice you've given us all and sparing your time to share that with us. And as I say, guys, you never know when you might need that information. But thanks, Chris. Have a good afternoon.
Top man. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Cheers, bud. So everybody, big thank you to Chris there for a fantastic show. As I say, Dom didn't make it back. What a lightweight. So my good friend Callum will show us the slides of what's coming up next week on the show. So guys, we've got a big Delegate Wranglers announcement at 4:00 today. Oh, that's only an hour and a half. Can't wait. So look out for that on the group, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. But we've got a big announcement. The show next week is next Tuesday. We've got a diverse and inclusive event masterclass with Ashanti from Diversity Alley. That should be really good. I'm really looking forward to that. Thursday, the 14th of October, we've got the Future Shape of events and a kind of Delegate Wranglers meetup. So that's with our friends at Adventure. Look out for that, guys. Look out for the link to register your interest. They're particularly looking for event organisers to come along to that. And it's going to be a hybrid event. So we've got about 30 places to come and watch us. It's going to be at the Novotel London West next Tuesday morning. So, and then we're going to have a little meetup afterwards at Delegate Wranglers, where everybody who's there, we're going to have a couple of bites to eat and a drink, and we can just have a chat. So come along. I'm going to be there. I'm hosting that with some special guests, including Dominic, which is a good one. We've got Sasha Fries, and we've got one of the main event buyers from Kuoni. Frank from Kuoni is coming. My brain is gone. So, yeah, we got the final show of the year on the 19th of October, not of the year, of the season, on the 19th of October. And then leading quite nicely onto the next thing on the agenda is the CHS Birmingham. Callum, I don't know if you can show us a show up slide. That event is Tuesday, the 26th of October. Guys, we want you all to show up. Thanks to everybody who came to the meeting show. We want to do the same for CHS as well. Emma and the team have had to cancel the show 2 or 3 times because of COVID. So we really need your support. All the suppliers need your support. I think there's some supplier places available as well. But also we need all you guys to come along as attendees, and let's make this a fantastic event. Just so you know, they have an amazing party the night before the event as well. That's going to be at the East Side Rooms, and that's fantastic. So yes. Right, so thank you everybody for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that. Please share this show with anybody you know who might need it, and also, you never know when you might need it yourself. Just the information that we got was fantastic. Big thanks to Ed, Callum. I'm not going to thank Dom from Stream for the production because he's in a restaurant somewhere, knowing him. Events Case for the fantastic registration skills, and especially for Chris for joining us today. Some absolutely amazing advice. He's such a lovely fella and such a level-headed person that I guarantee, if you need his advice, he will give you some brilliant words. So anyway, guys, that's it for me. Next week, I'm going to rest my voice. Please tune in for the announcement on the group at 4 o'clock today, and we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us.